But you said Daddy lives in the sky now, the little girl said, her voice trembling with quiet accusation as she pointed upward with a small sun-warmed finger the very moment her bare feet touched the sand. The mother stopped so suddenly that the beach bag slipped from her shoulder and landed softly near her feet. The sea stretched endlessly before them, blue layered upon blue, the horizon almost invisible where the water dissolved into the sky. For a second she could not breathe. She had imagined this moment 100 times during the sleepless nights after the funeral, but no imagination could have prepared her for the simple cruelty of a child's honesty. The girl stood there, eyes narrowed against the brightness, waiting for an answer that would make sense of a world that had already betrayed her. They had come to the sea because the apartment had become unbearable. Every corner held his absence. The mug he never washed, the jacket still hanging by the door, the faint smell of his cologne trapped in the wardrobe. Friends had said the trip would help, that fresh air and change would ease the pain, especially for the child. The mother had nodded, grateful for any suggestion that sounded like hope. But now, standing between the sky and the sea, she realized there was no place far enough to escape the truth. I thought, if he's in the sky, the girl continued, lowering her hand and frowning, then why didn't we just look up? Why did we come all the way here? The mother knelt slowly, feeling the sand press into her knees through the thin fabric of her dress. She took her daughter's hands, so small and warm, hands that looked so much like his that it hurt to see them in the sunlight. For a moment she searched for the right words, but grief had made language unreliable, like a bridge that could collapse at any step. He does live there, she said at last, her voice barely louder than the waves. In the sky. But that's not the only place where he is. The girl tilted her head, unconvinced. You promised, she said softly. You said he would watch me from up there. And he does, the mother replied quickly, fear rising in her chest at the thought of breaking that promise. Every single day. When you wake up, when you go to sleep, when you laugh. He sees all of it. The girl looked up again, squinting at the clouds drifting lazily overhead. They looked harmless, almost playful, nothing like the place where someone could live forever. I can't see him, she whispered. I know, the mother said, pulling her closer. I can't either. They stood like that for a while, the child leaning against her, the mother breathing in the familiar scent of sunscreen and shampoo that reminded her painfully of normal days. Around them, people laughed, children ran screaming into the water, couples walked hand in hand along the shore. Life continued with a kind of casual cruelty, as if nothing important had been lost at all. He wanted to bring you here, the mother said suddenly, surprised by her own words. They slipped out before she could stop them. You know that, right? The girl looked up at her. Daddy. Yes. He talked about it all the time. He said the first time you saw the sea, it should be special. He wanted to hold your hand when the waves touched your feet. The girl stared at the water now, her expression changing. Then why didn't he wait? The question struck like a blow. The mother felt tears rise instantly, blurring the horizon. She had asked herself the same thing every day since the hospital, since the machines went silent, since the world split into before and after. I don't think he wanted to go, she said honestly. I think, sometimes things happen even when we don't want them to. The girl considered this, her mouth pressed into a thin line that looked far too serious for her age. Then she took a cautious step forward, letting a small wave wash over her toes. She gasped and jumped back, half laughing, half frightened. Mom, she exclaimed. It's cold. The mother smiled despite herself. It won't hurt you. Try again. This time the girl stayed still as the water reached her feet again, swirling around her ankles before retreating. She watched it closely, as if expecting something else to happen, something magical. Another wave came, then another, each one gentle and patient. Mom, the girl said slowly, the sea keeps coming back. Yes, the mother replied. No matter how many times it goes away, it always returns. The girl's eyes widened slightly. Like Daddy. The mother's throat tightened. She nodded, unable to speak. They walked closer to the water together, hand in hand. The sun was warm on their backs, the wind cool against their faces. The mother felt exhausted, but also strangely anchored, as if the steady rhythm of the waves was holding her upright. When Daddy got sick, the girl said quietly, staring at the water, I thought he would get better if I was extra good. The mother closed her eyes for a brief moment. Oh, sweetheart, I cleaned my toys, the girl went on. And I didn't fight with anyone at school. I even talked to him at night, in my head. I told him I'd share my ice cream. The mother knelt again and pulled her into a tight embrace, pressing her lips to her daughter's hair. None of this is your fault, she said firmly, though her voice shook. Nothing you did or didn't do could have changed it. But you said he hears me, the girl murmured into her chest. He does, the mother said. And he loves you for everything you are. Not because you're good, just because you're you. They sat down in the sand, letting the waves come close but not touch them now. The girl picked up a shell and turned it over in her hands, studying its smooth curves. Do you think he can hear the sea from the sky? She asked. I think, the mother said carefully, that he can hear whatever he wants to hear. The girl smiled faintly at that and held the shell up to her ear. I can hear something, she said. It's like a whisper. The mother remembered being a child herself, believing the sea spoke secrets through shells. She had forgotten how comforting that idea could be. Maybe that's him, she said. The girl's eyes lit up. She jumped to her feet and ran closer to the water, holding the shell tightly. A stronger wave rolled in, splashing higher this time, soaking the hem of her dress. She laughed, a real laugh, clear and bright, the kind that made strangers smile. Mom, he touched me, she cried. The mother's breath caught. She stood slowly, watching her daughter dance backward as the water retreated again. Tears streamed down her face now, but they were different, still heavy, still painful, yet carrying something softer underneath. She walked toward the girl, the sand cool beneath her feet, and stood beside her at the edge of the water. Together they watched the waves come and go, endless and faithful. Daddy can't live in just one place, the mother said softly, more to herself than to the child. He's too big for that. The girl slipped her hand into her mother's. Then he's not lonely, she said with relief. No, the mother replied. He isn't. The sun began to lower slightly, casting golden light across the water. The sea glittered, and for a fleeting moment the mother imagined she saw his smile in the way the light moved, familiar and warm. Mom, the girl asked one last time. Yes. Can we come here again tomorrow? The mother squeezed her hand gently. As many times as you want. And as another wave rolled in, soft and steady, she allowed herself to believe that love, like the sea, never truly leaves, it only changes where and how it touches the shore. But you said Daddy lives in the sky now, the little girl said, her voice small yet edged with hurt, as she pointed upward with a solemn finger the very moment her sandals slipped off and her bare feet met the warm sand. The mother stopped walking so abruptly that the beach bag slid from her shoulder and thudded softly at her side. Before them stretched the sea, vast, shimmering, endless, its surface breathing in slow, patient waves. Above it, the sky seemed impossibly high, washed in pale blue and scattered with thin clouds drifting without purpose. The horizon blurred the line between the two, as if they were gently dissolving into one another. For a heartbeat, the mother felt suspended between them, unable to move, unable to speak. They had planned this trip in fragments of courage. After the funeral, after the last visitors left, after the silence in the apartment grew louder than any noise. Friends had insisted the sea would help, that children healed faster near open spaces, that grief needed air. The mother had agreed because staying had become unbearable. Every object in their home was a reminder of him. The unfinished book on the bedside table, the shoes by the door, the faint dent on the pillow where his head had rested. Leaving felt like betrayal, but staying felt like drowning. Now the child stood beside her, eyes narrowed against the brightness, waiting for an explanation that could somehow stitch the world back together. You told me, the girl continued, lowering her hand slowly, that Daddy watches me from the sky. I looked when we got here. I didn't see him. The mother swallowed hard. She knelt down, feeling the grit of sand press into her knees, grounding her in the moment. She took her daughter's hands, so small, so alive, and held them gently, as if afraid they might vanish too. He does watch you, she said softly. All the time. Then why doesn't he wave? The girl asked. Her brow furrowed, not in anger, but in confusion, the kind only children have, when truth and fairness still feel like the same thing. The mother looked up at the sky, blinking against tears. How many nights had she stared at that same sky, whispering his name, begging for a sign. How many mornings had she woken expecting, just for a second, to hear his voice from the kitchen? I think, she said slowly, choosing each word like a fragile piece of glass, that some things are real even when we can't see them. The girl didn't answer right away. She shifted her weight and glanced toward the water, watching the waves crawl forward and retreat again. You said he lives in the sky, she murmured. But the sky is very far away. Yes, the mother replied. It is. So, why did we come to the sea? The girl asked. Did Daddy move? The question pierced deeper than the mother expected. She felt a sharp ache bloom in her chest, followed by a familiar heaviness. She pulled the girl closer, resting her cheek against the top of her daughter's head, breathing in her scent, salt, sunscreen, and childhood. No, she said. He didn't move. Then why are we here? The mother closed her eyes. Images rose uninvited. Him standing at a travel agency window months ago, pointing at a picture of the ocean. Him laughing as he talked about teaching their daughter to swim. Him saying, I want her first memory of the sea to be with us together. He wanted you to see this place, the mother said at last. He loved the sea. The girl looked up sharply. More than me. The mother's heart clenched. No, never more than you. But he loved it because it made him feel free. And strong. And calm. The girl studied the water again, her expression thoughtful. It keeps moving, she said. It doesn't get tired. No, the mother agreed. It doesn't. They stood quietly for a while, letting the sounds surround them. Laughter from somewhere down the beach, the cries of gulls overhead, the steady hush of the waves. Life went on around them with unsettling normality. The mother felt invisible, as if grief had turned her transparent. The girl cautiously stepped forward, letting the water brush her toes. She squealed and jumped back, startled. It's cold, she exclaimed. The mother smiled faintly. It is at first. But you get used to it. The girl tried again, braver this time. The water curled around her feet, then slipped away. She watched it intently, eyes wide with wonder. It came back, she said. Yes, the mother replied. Even after it left. Yes. The girl turned to her, something dawning in her gaze. Does Daddy come back too? The mother's throat tightened painfully. She knelt again so they were eye to eye. Not the way he used to, she said honestly. But, in other ways. Like how? The mother searched inside herself. She thought of the way her daughter laughed just like him, the way she wrinkled her nose when she was concentrating, the way she reached for her hand without looking. Like in your smile, she said. And in your voice. And in the stories we tell. The girl seemed to consider this, then nodded slowly, as if filing the information away. They walked closer to the water together. The mother let the hem of her dress get wet, not caring. The cold startled her, but she welcomed it. It reminded her she was still here, still standing. Mom, the girl said quietly. Yes, sweetheart. When Daddy was in the hospital, was he scared? The question caught the mother off guard. She inhaled sharply, then exhaled. Sometimes, she admitted. I think so. Was he scared to leave me? The mother crouched down and pulled her into a tight embrace. He didn't want to leave you, she said firmly. He loved you more than anything. The girl's arms wrapped around her neck. I talked to him at night, she whispered. In my head. I told him I'd be extra good so he could come home. Tears spilled freely now. Oh, my love, the mother murmured. He heard you. I promise. Then why didn't he stay? The mother closed her eyes. This was the question with no answer. The question that haunted her too. Because sometimes, she said softly, even love isn't stronger than what happens to our bodies. The girl sniffed. That's not fair. No, the mother agreed. It isn't. They sat down in the sand, side by side. The girl picked up a shell and turned it over in her hands. It's pretty, she said. Yes, the mother replied. It is. She remembered collecting shells with him years ago, before the child was born, before life grew complicated. She remembered thinking they would have time for everything. The girl pressed the shell to her ear. I hear something, she said, surprised. The mother smiled weakly. What do you hear? It sounds like the sea, the girl said. But quiet. The mother's chest ached. Some people say the sea leaves its voice inside shells. The girl's eyes widened. Then Daddy can hear it too. Yes, the mother said. I think he can. A stronger wave rolled in, splashing higher up the shore. It soaked the girl's feet and she laughed, startled and delighted. Mom. It touched me. The mother laughed through tears. It did. The girl lifted her arms as if welcoming the water. Hi, Daddy, she said softly, toward the sea. The mother's breath caught. She turned her face away for a moment, letting herself cry openly. When she looked back, the girl was smiling. Not the forced smile of politeness, but a real one, light and unburdened. He's not just in the sky, the girl said confidently. He's here, too. The mother nodded. Yes, she whispered. He is. They stood together at the edge of the water, watching the waves come and go, endless and patient. The sun dipped lower, casting gold across the surface of the sea. Mom. The girl asked. Yes. Can we come back tomorrow? The mother squeezed her hand gently. As many times as you want. And in that moment, with the sea breathing steadily before them and the sky wide above, she understood something she hadn't allowed herself to believe before. Love does not disappear. It changes its shape, its distance, its voice, but like the sea, it always finds its way back to the shore. But you said Daddy lives in the sky now, the little girl said, her voice thin and wounded, as she lifted her arm and pointed upward the very moment her shoes slipped off and her bare feet sank into the warm, unfamiliar sand. The mother stopped so suddenly that the beach bag slid from her shoulder and fell at her side. For a few seconds she couldn't move, couldn't even breathe properly. Before them stretched the sea, vast, shimmering, endlessly alive, its surface rising and falling in slow, patient rhythms. Above it, the sky felt impossibly high, a pale blue expanse dotted with drifting clouds that seemed too soft, too distant to hold anyone she loved. She had known this moment would come. She just hadn't known it would hurt this much. They had traveled here because the apartment had become unbearable. After the funeral, after the condolences, after the last plate of food brought by well-meaning friends had gone cold and been thrown away, silence had settled into every room. It clung to the walls, seeped into the furniture, pressed against her chest at night until she struggled to breathe. Every object whispered his absence. The chair he used to sit in, the light he forgot to turn off, the faint scent of his soap still lingering in the bathroom. Staying felt like drowning slowly. Leaving felt like betrayal. But she chose to leave, for her daughter's sake. Now the child stood beside her, squinting against the brightness, waiting for an answer that would make sense of a world that had already broken its promises. You told me, the girl continued, lowering her hand and frowning, that Daddy watches me from the sky. I looked when we got here. I didn't see him. The mother knelt down slowly, feeling the coarse sand press into her knees through the thin fabric of her dress. She reached for her daughter's hands, holding them gently, as if anchoring both of them to the ground. Those hands were so small, yet so familiar, his hands, echoed in miniature. That realization alone almost undid her. He does watch you, she said softly. All the time. Then why doesn't he say hello? The girl asked. Her voice wasn't angry. It was confused. Confusion was somehow worse. The mother glanced up at the sky, blinking hard. She had stared at it so many nights since his death, whispering his name into the darkness, begging for even the smallest sign that he was still near. The sky had never answered. I think, she said slowly, choosing each word with care, that some things are real even when we can't see them. The girl shifted her weight and looked toward the water. The waves rolled forward, touched the shore, then pulled back again, leaving thin white foam behind like lace that dissolved almost instantly. You said Daddy lives in the sky, the girl murmured. But the sky is very far away. Yes, the mother replied quietly. It is. So why did we come here? The girl asked. Did Daddy move? The question struck with unexpected force. The mother's chest tightened, grief flaring anew. She pulled the child closer, pressing her cheek against the top of her daughter's head, breathing in the familiar scent of sunscreen and shampoo. And childhood. No, she said gently. He didn't move. Then why are we here? The mother closed her eyes. Memories rose unbidden. Him standing in front of a travel poster months ago, pointing at a picture of the ocean. Him smiling as he talked about teaching their daughter to swim. Him saying, I want her first memory of the sea to be happy. With us together. He wanted you to see this place, the mother said at last. He loved the sea. The girl looked up quickly. More than me. The mother's heart clenched painfully. No, never more than you. He loved you more than anything in the world. The girl studied the water again. It keeps moving, she said. It doesn't stop. No, the mother agreed. It doesn't. Around them, the beach buzzed with life. Children laughed and shrieked as they ran into the waves. Couples strolled hand in hand. Somewhere, music played faintly. The normality of it all felt almost offensive, as if the world had forgotten something crucial. The mother felt invisible, like grief had erased her edges. The girl took a cautious step forward, letting the water brush her toes. She squealed and jumped back, startled. "It's cold," she exclaimed. The mother smiled despite herself. "It is at first, but you get used to it." The girl tried again, braver this time. The wave curled around her feet, then slipped away. She watched it closely, fascinated. "It came back," she said. "Yes," the mother replied. "Even after it left." "Yes." The girl turned to her, something thoughtful settling in her eyes. "Does Daddy come back too?" The mother's throat tightened. She knelt again so they were eye to eye. "Not the way he used to," she said honestly. "But he comes back in other ways." "Like how?" The mother searched herself. She thought of the way her daughter laughed just like him, the way she tilted her head when listening, the way she reached for her hand without looking. "Like in your smile," she said. "And in your voice. And in the way you love people." The girl seemed to consider this carefully, then nodded as if accepting a rule of the world she was still learning. They walked closer to the water together. The mother let her dress get wet, the cold shocking but grounding. She welcomed the sensation. It reminded her she was still alive, still standing, even after everything. "Mom?" the girl asked quietly. "Yes, sweetheart. When Daddy was sick, was he scared?" The question took the air from the mother's lungs. She inhaled slowly. "Sometimes," she admitted. "I think he was." "Was he scared to leave me?" The mother crouched and pulled her into a tight embrace. "He didn't want to leave you," she said firmly. "Not for a single second." The girl's arms wrapped around her neck. "I talked to him at night," she whispered. "In my head. I told him I'd be extra good so he could come home." Tears spilled freely now. "Oh, my love," the mother murmured. "He heard you. I promise." "Then why didn't he stay?" The mother closed her eyes. This was the question with no answer. The question that haunted her too. "Because sometimes," she said softly, "even love can't fix what's happening to our bodies." "That's not fair," the girl said. "No," the mother agreed. "It isn't." They sat down in the sand together. The girl picked up a shell and turned it over in her hands. "It's smooth," she said. "Yes," the mother replied. She remembered collecting shells with him long ago, before illness, before fear. She remembered thinking they had time for everything. The girl pressed the shell to her ear. "I hear something," she said, surprised. The mother smiled faintly. "What do you hear?" "It sounds like the sea," the girl said. "But very quiet." "Some people say the sea leaves its voice inside shells," the mother said. The girl's eyes widened. "Then Daddy can hear it too." "Yes," the mother whispered. "I think he can." A stronger wave rolled in, splashing higher. It soaked the girl's feet and she laughed, startled and delighted. "Mom, it touched me." The mother laughed through tears. "It did." The girl lifted her arms slightly, as if greeting the water. "Hi, Daddy," she said softly. The mother turned her face away, overcome. When she looked back, the girl was smiling. Not forced, not careful, but real. "He's not only in the sky," the girl said with quiet certainty. "He's here too." The mother nodded. "Yes, he is." They stood together at the edge of the water as the sun dipped lower, painting the sea in gold and silver. The waves continued their endless return, faithful and gentle. "Mom?" the girl asked. "Yes. Can we come here again tomorrow?" The mother squeezed her hand, feeling both the ache and the comfort of it. "As many times as you want." And as the sea breathed steadily before them and the sky stretched wide above, she understood something she hadn't allowed herself to believe before. Love doesn't disappear. It changes its form, its distance, its voice, but like the sea, it always comes back to the shore.